Good day, people. So USA. The impact of technology development on the USA. But first, a little history of the creation of the USA, which is no less interesting. So the date of the beginning of the history of the United States is a subject of heated debate among historians. The old textbooks begin mostly with the arrival of Christopher Columbus on October 12, 1492, and especially emphasize the European background of the colonization of America. In recent decades, American schools and universities have tended to move away from the traditional narrative to include the Native American past in the historiography of the colonial period. Native peoples lived in what is now the United States for several thousand years before the first European colonists set foot on the open continent. The first settlers came mainly from England. The beginning of their resettlement was a trip to the shores of modern New England by John Cabot, who was in the English service. Another great navigator, Juan Ponce de Leon, started the colonization of America by Spanish colonists. They founded small settlements in Florida and the southwestern United States. The French settled along the Mississippi River and the coast of the Gulf of Mexico. By the 1770s, the 13 British colonies from New Hampshire in the north to Georgia in the south already had 2.5 million people living along the Atlantic coast east of the Appalachians. After the end of the French and Indian Wars of the 1760s, the metropolis imposed a number of new taxes on the settlers, rejecting the colonists' argument that any new taxes must be approved by them. Tax resistance, notably the Boston Tea Party, 1773, led to the British Parliament passing the Punishment Acts, intolerable laws designed to end self-government in Massachusetts. Soon after, the Revolutionary War broke out between England and its colonies in 1775. Poorly equipped and poorly trained Americans opposed the more numerous and better armed British troops. During the war, a large epidemic of smallpox broke out. The turning point in the war was the defeat of the British Army in the Battle of Saratoga, thanks to large-scale military and financial support from France and the talented command of General George Washington. The American Patriots won the final victory in 1781. Shortly before that, on July 4, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence of the United States, which confirmed the existence of not a simple collection of scattered colonies, but a single American nation. American patriots won the final victory in 1781. Shortly before that, on July 4, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence of the United States, which confirmed the existence of not a simple collection of scattered colonies, but a single American nation. The Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence of the United States, which confirmed the existence of not a simple collection of scattered colonies, but a single American nation. The Peace Treaty of 1783 forced Great Britain to recognize the independence of the new state. Supported by a belief in a clear destiny, the Americans gradually expanded their territory to the Pacific Ocean. Population growth was rapid, reaching 7.2 million in 1810, 32 million in 1860, 76 million in 1900, 132 million in 1940, and 321 million in 2015. Economic growth in terms of GDP was even faster. The expansion of the territory was due to the search for inexpensive land for farmers and slave owners. The issue of slavery became increasingly controversial and served as a cause of political and constitutional disputes. After the abolitionist Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860, 11 Southern states left the Union and declared their independence, declaring themselves the Confederate States of America. By the turn of the 20th century, the United States had become the world's leading industrial power due to a burst of entrepreneurship in the Northeast and Midwest and the arrival of millions of immigrant workers and farmers from Europe. Mass dissatisfaction with corruption and ineffectiveness of traditional politics stimulated the spread of the progressive movement, which led to the implementation of many social and political reforms. In 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution guaranteed women's suffrage, and the 16th and 17th Amendments established a national income tax and direct election of U.S. senators to Congress. In 1914, when the First World War broke out in Europe, President Woodrow Wilson advocated a policy of strict American neutrality. However, such a position became impossible when Germany declared total war against all ships bound for the ports of Allied countries. In 1917, the USA entered the war on the side of the Entente countries, making a significant contribution to the victory. The signed post-war Treaty of Versailles included a proposal for the creation of the League of Nations, but the U.S. Senate refused to ratify the treaty, so the United States did not participate in the activities of the international organization. American soil received its first blow during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Together with Great Britain, the Soviet Union, China, and other states of the anti-Hitler coalition, the USA made a significant contribution to the victory over Nazi Germany. Hostilities against Japan ended in August 1945, when President Harry Truman ordered the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. After the war, the United States co-founded a new international organization, the United Nations. In the 1990s, the U.S. focused on international conflicts around the Middle East. The beginning of the 21st century was marked by the terrorist attacks of Al-Qaeda on September 11, 2001, after which the country took part in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2008, the United States experienced the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. During the years of the administration of President Barack Obama, the first African American in this position, health care and banking reforms were implemented. On January 20, 2017, the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, was sworn in. His election and presidency caused some controversy among U.S. citizens. What modern USA, you ask? In the age of dynamic development of scientific and technical progress, a number of models have been developed that take into account the impact of the results of scientific research on increasing labor productivity and accelerating economic growth, primarily in the economy of the United States of America and other leading countries of the world. However, the technological development of the country is directly related to the innovative development of its regions. Therefore, it is the regional science and technology policy that requires significant attention, the formation of which should become the basis of the country's innovation policy. Among researchers of the regional economy, the view about the need to reorient the economy of the region from natural resource potential to innovative is becoming more and more widespread. It is he who is able to overcome inhibiting factors of exhaustion of extensive factors of economic growth and human progress in general. The basis of achievements of the American economy is the development of fundamental research in the field of physics, chemistry, biology, engineering sciences. According to the calculations of American researchers, approximately half of the economic growth of the United States of America over the past 50 to 60 years has been achieved thanks to the introduction of scientific and technological innovations and education. U.S. spending on research and development from 1954 to 1967 increased from 1.5 to 2.9% of GDP. In the second half of the 20th century, the United States managed to create the most powerful scientific and technological potential in the world. At the beginning of the 21st century, the country's expenditures on research and development increased to $397 billion. In 2008, a year earlier, the share of the United States in global expenditures on the development of science and technology, $1,107 billion, was 33%, which is equal to the sum of R&D expenditures of 4 other countries from the top 5 states that are the world leaders in terms of this indicator, namely Japan, 19%, China, 9%, Germany, 6%, and France, 4%. In 2007, according to the level of the specific weight of expenditures on R&D in terms of GDP, the USA ranked 8th in the world, 2.68%, behind Israel, 4.68%, Sweden, 3.6%, the Republic of Korea, 3.47%, Finland, 3.46%, Japan, 3.44%, Switzerland, 2.9%, and Iceland, 2.76%. However, in dollar terms, the amount of funding for scientific research in the USA is much higher and it remains the leading scientific country in the world. The advantages of scientific and technical results obtained can be used in different sectors of the economy, although the contribution of different sectors to the creation of scientific and technical products is not the same. Among the leaders in terms of knowledge intensity, 6 types of economic activity in the American economy can be distinguished, which in 2007 accounted for 76% of R&D funded by companies, and 95% of R&D funded by the U.S. federal budget, namely the chemical industry, computer and electronics manufacturing, aerospace and defense, automotive, computer engineering, CT, services, and software, scientific and technical services. In 2007, companies in the chemical industry performed the most R&D in the United States of America. The greatest attention was paid to scientific research in the field of medicine production, $47.6 billion. Approximately three-quarters of the research work was performed in the laboratories of chemical companies, and the rest, in the laboratories of universities, federal organizations, etc. Almost all computer and electronics R&D is funded by industry. The computer industry and electronics account for the largest share, 22.8%, of company-financed R&D expenditures. In terms of net sales in 2007, the computer industry exceeded the net sales of the automotive industry by 6.8%, which further indicates some changes in the mood of American consumers and the need for some adjustments to the established model of the American dream: car, house. In addition, the amount of funding for scientific research in the field of computer services exceeded the amount of funding for research and development in the aerospace and defense industry, $30.3 billion at the expense of companies and the federal budget, since the scope of application of computer services is much wider than the field of use of aerospace and defense technologies. The highest value, 18%, is the ratio of NFC/sales, expenditure on R&D financed by companies to volumes of sales in the U.S. domestic market, was recorded for scientific and technical services, which include technology development, scientific research and services in the field of architecture and construction, which demonstrates the high level and efficiency of implementation of the results of scientific and technical developments in the United States of America. Knowledge-intensive technologies in the U.S. economy. The 21st century is the century of the knowledge economy. The specific weight of modern knowledge and technology-intensive types of economic activity in the U.S. economy is the highest in the world and equaled 38% of GDP in 2007. The United States of America remains an unchanged world leader in the field of providing RTD services and manufacturing high-tech products. The United States is the world's largest provider of commercial knowledge-intensive services, financial, business, and communication, and their share of such services increased to 34% in 2007. The USA is the world's largest producer of high-tech products, 30% of the world output of such products, or $360 billion. The USA is the world's largest provider of information and communication services and a producer of products in the field of information technologies. Their share in 2009 was 27% of the added value in this field in the world. Today, the United States continues to hold a leading position in the global economy not only thanks to a huge, capacious market, an efficient corporate sector, wide opportunities for financing large-scale projects, but primarily due to the highest level of science and technology development in the world, a perfect education system, a powerful innovation system, a flexible state regulation and encouragement of cooperation between business and scientific institutions, experience of rapid response to changes in the world economy. Over time, as a result of the development of new world economies, according to some indicators, the United States of America is losing its position as a sole leader. The global crisis of 2007 to 2010 demonstrated the problems of global economic imbalance, the essence of which was that the U.S. produced less than it consumed. China and other dynamic Asian countries have invested in the economy of the United States, one of the largest markets in the world, huge funds, which these countries obtain thanks to powerful export revenues. The advantage of the economic imbalance in favor of the United States as a world driver of scientific and technological progress is the concentration in one country of the financial and human resources of the world, modern equipment for the creation of knowledge-intensive technologies, breakthroughs in new fields of knowledge, by which American scientists and their foreign colleagues enrich the scientific and technological the potential of all countries of the world, including Ukraine. If you are interested, like and subscribe to the channel and you will see the next video on the topic, Albanian Criminal Mafia.